Welcome back to Teachers AI Cafe. Today we're looking at something that can either make or break our students' confidence. It's something often it's really struggled to get them to do it in the first place, and that's public speaking. And almost every learning area that I know of, definitely in terms of HAS and even digital tech, we actually get the students up to present and develop those skills with them. So whether in your class, whether it's oral presentations, debating, or doing their end of year speech for a select few, most of our students dread it. I think it's worse than death. Let's be honest, it can often be the most stressful thing for us ourselves. I had a colleague once who said she would deliver beautifully in front of her students, but would not get up and talk in front of her colleagues at a staff meeting or anywhere else. So it's something we carry through our entire life, the ability to do public speaking really, really well. But here's some good news. AI can actually be something, a practical tool for helping our students practice in a safe, structured way. Today we're going to go through 7 different strategies you can take into your classroom to help your students work through public speaking, how to build their confidence before they get up and do it in front of, even if it's just their classroom. So the first one we've got is we can simulate some real-world speaking scenarios. One of the hardest challenges we've got for students is obviously we don't get them to practice. We set them the task and they'll get up and present it. That's it. And they might do that once a year. Even pretend rehearsals in class can feel sort of daunting for them. They just don't want to speak in front of anyone. And often I had a class once and they had to do a presentation. I said, look, come chat to me. If you're nervous about doing it in class, you can come do it with me at break. No worries at all. We want to cater for our students. And actually, over half the class actually turned up. But the rule was, well, if you can do it at break, you've got to sit there and wait for the other students that did it. Virtually the whole class sat there at break, listening to themselves present. Where we could have just done it in class. But that fear is really there. Simulating these real-world speaking scenarios is something we can actually do. We can use it to create that judgment-free space where they can rehearse privately before stepping up in front of their peers. And then one of the advantages we can do that nowadays with the AI systems is they're actually voice-controlled. So in terms of using in the classroom, you can let students record their speeches on their devices and then give it to AI for feedback. We can do it directly into AI, and then AI can then get back and check them for their clarity, the organisation, their persuasiveness, whatever the requirements are of the talk. Because obviously we don't often have enough time to give that feedback in detail to every single student in a very full class. You can even pair AI tools with things like Speech Ace and other online tools to work on things like vocal delivery. So a problem you could do is, I will deliver a speech about X using the audio feature on my device. Please provide feedback on my clarity of ideas, the effectiveness of my arguments, and the overall structure of my speech. And this helps students refine their presenting skills and their message and their timing before they actually then deliver it out to their students, lowering their stress, improving the quality of what you're going to get, and actually giving them their self-confidence. So that's a prompt where you've recorded, but like I said, you can then now do exactly the same prompt straight into, say, on their mobile device or a desktop, and present their speech as is with pauses, gaps, timing, straight into AI and get that feedback. Very, very good. The second one is learn to craft well-structured speeches. So many speeches fall apart because students really don't know how to plan and put it together. And while we provide a lot of scaffolding, it's getting those additional support and advice can be really good. Often they have really, really good ideas, but often they don't have the structure to deliver it, and it becomes a ramble. So AI can scaffold their outlines, helping students learn how to build an introduction, logical progression of their arguments, and a strong conclusion. So it's important that students of this actually then develop their own work and structure first before using AI. So it can teach students to generate outlines first. So we can ask them to do an outline once they've put all their ideas in there. Then compare them with the outline with the models and things you do in your learning area, because obviously different learning areas have different ideas of what they want to present and requirements. And then encourage them to feed drafts back into AI for refinement. So they're developing the idea of this repetitive drafting process of each draft getting a lot better. So a prompt could be, help me create a powerful outline for persuasive speech on topic X, ensuring my argument is both logical and compelling. So it's a great way to differentiate support. Weaker students get more scaffolding. Stronger students can then focus on refining their impact. So we're seeing improvement across your classroom at the different rates that the students actually need it. Third one is obviously build confidence through rehearsal. And often, even my own kids and other students often see them rehearsing over and over again, but they're not really getting that feedback. So as we know, confidence grows with every practice that you do, but rehearsing to silence isn't really that motivating. Like, they're really just listening to themselves, so they're not getting that third-party feedback on what they're actually doing. I can become an audience, clapping, asking questions, even role-playing a tough crowd. Have students rehearse it with AI multiple different times, each asking for different feedback goals, one for structure, one for persuasiveness, and one for Q&A. The advantage of doing it in 3 different ones is AI doesn't get confused on what sort of feedback you're actually looking for, but also forces them to do the speech at least 3 different times, and each time they'll get better and they'll refine. If they pick the structure first, then persuasiveness, and then look at Q&A at the end, then you see that natural progression. Structure gets better. They get better at communicating their persuasiveness. Last one, they can then get confidence in the Q&A, what questions they might get at the end of their presentation in the classroom. It builds some resilience because it trains them or it helps them to learn what to expect when they're actually doing it, like particularly questions at the end. And you can even set the AI to different levels of devil's advocate or throw some really curveball questions at them to really get them used to that sort of environment. So a prompt could be, let's do a full rehearsal of my speech on topic X. I'll deliver it and I'll respond as an audience might, including asking questions or providing feedback. The benefit? By the time they get to the real classroom presentation, they've already faced an audience, making the nerves easier to manage because they've gone through the process multiple times. And they've got confidence and they know what sort of questions they may get asked at the end of it. The next one is enhancing nonverbal communication. So as we know, public speaking isn't all about the words. It's often the body language, posture, eye contact. And AI can't see these yet. I do say yet. You can coach them on strategies to try. So after generating a list of body language techniques, pair your students up to observe and provide that feedback. So if you don't have time to develop yourself, you can ask AI to develop what are good, positive body language techniques or movements or positions to stand that the students can then model those to each other. Encourage students to record themselves on video, and then you could upload to AI and actually get suggested feedback, though it is quite involved. Though virtually every student's got a mobile phone nowadays, they can record themselves, put it in the system, and get feedback on how they're actually delivering it. So a prompt could be, I want to improve my nonverbal communication during speeches. You can suggest ways to use gestures, eye contact, posture to strengthen my delivery. And then you could go into that. That's like a suggestion, but then as part of the same prompt, you can extend it. I have uploaded a video of myself presenting. Use that video as the basis for your feedback. This is a especially powerful tool for shy students to get good feedback on the way they're going to present themselves. And if you're using the video and uploading down that path into AI and getting that visual feedback from the video, it also gives them non-threatening feedback that no one else is going to hear that can build and change. Now, not everyone has Q&A. I always encourage in my class because it really gives a chance for the students to show their depth of knowledge or lack of depth of knowledge. Also use it if the student's presentation is not as in-depth or detailed as I would have liked. I'll often ask questions to get students to ask questions to try and draw out that additional knowledge that they may not have included in their presentation. The QA session is often most unpredictable and stressful yet, and students often give vague, non-in-depth answers. Students will often panic when asked something they haven't rehearsed, so AI can stimulate this by generating spontaneous audience questions. I'll suggest when you do that, you actually set the audience of who they're actually speaking to when you're doing your specifications. So let students practice increasingly difficult questions, start with clarifying questions and move on to challenging critical ones, so you can scaffold that process. Encourage students to reflect on which answers felt strong and which one they stumbled upon. And if you're doing the verbal commands into AI, you can actually use that to actually give feedback on their responses as well. So a prompt would be, I finished my presentation on topic. Can you ask me some tough questions? If you're an audience member, I'm presenting to Year 8 students or whatever the case may be, Year 10 or senior school. So tell them to give context so that questions are appropriate. I want to practice responding thoughtfully and clearly, and then they go through the process. So this would build some flexibility and confidence in them to actually answer these questions. Also help them realize they don't have to know everything, but they just need strategies about thinking on their feet to give a good response. Number 6, improve vocal delivery. Now, voice is a huge tool for persuasion. Often, students deliver monotone speeches, they often stand there and read off a sheet of paper, and they'll lose the room, or they try and read off a PowerPoint behind them, doing PowerPoint karaoke. AI can provide practical coaching, pacing, pausing, volume shift, and tone variety. So AI can combine advice from student recordings. I said, if you can, do it live, or have them record a before and after when they hear the improvement. You can link these into drama techniques if you're in that teaching area, or breathing exercises to show you that voice is a trainable skill. That's well outside my wheelhouse, but obviously people in the English and the drama areas have knowledge within that. So a prompt could be, how can I improve my vocal delivery for my speech on X? I want to work on making my tone, pace, and volume more engaging. And this reminds students that public speaking isn't just about what you say, it's actually how you say it. Probably a lesson I need with my podcast as well. And the last one, overcome public speaking anxiety. And I said right at the beginning, adults have this same problem. Getting up and speaking in front of peers is a trained skill. The more they do it, as I tell them, the better you get at it. And I can tell times when I've gone up and spoken to a large group when I was younger, and I swear I didn't see anyone out there. My head was swimming. I said what I said and sat back down without even realizing or registering what was actually happening to the people I was talking to. And that's, I feel, how a lot of our students feel. Overcoming that anxiety is really a life skill that we want to try and get into our students. But once again, it's the biggest barrier. The fear of being judged, stumbling, or freezing up in front of their peers, particularly if they've got their mates or their friends trying to make fun of them or trying to put them off. AI can't erase nerves, but it can suggest practical strategies, visualization, breathing strategies, reframing anxiety as excitement, enthusiasm. So we want to encourage students to generate their own calm down routine using AI if they don't have one themselves or they don't like the one you've got, and try it before every rehearsal. Have a group discussion where students share what techniques work for them, normalizing the fact that nerves are actually common. And the simplest one I obviously tell my students in the classroom, if you're nervous, pick a spot on the back of the wall above all the students' head and you won't ever see anyone. It works for them most of the time. So a prompt could be, I feel anxious about speaking in public. You can provide me with techniques to manage my anxiety and build my confidence before I present. So when students feel in more of control of their nerves, everything else will actually improve. So that's 7 different techniques you can use. Obviously, you can cherry pick out of those, the ones that you do want to use. And with the advances on it, we can't quite do the video yet, but you can certainly record video and upload that. Obviously, that might have privacy issues around your students doing that. I wouldn't say that's the first course of action. But I said if you can use the verbal commands and write a prompt where they're speaking into it, developing it, asking them to assess it that way, and then getting that feedback, that'll certainly speed the process for you. So that's 7 practical ways you can use AI to support public speaking. Are they perfect? No. But once again, they're a tool that builds on top of whatever you're doing in the classroom. So from building structure to practical delivery, simulating tough audiences to managing nerves, AI can provide students with personalised, repeatable practices we often don't have to do one-on-one. So it's an addition to the tools you're actually doing in your classroom already. So I'd love to know which of these strategies you think as students would benefit from the most. Try one of the prompts in your class this week. Let me know how it goes. In the link below is my email, or you can join the Facebook group to give the feedback there, or post some questions if you need to. In this episode, I gave you something to try, and this is what learning AI is about. You can learn large chunks of it very quickly by getting on and having a play with it. So before I leave you today, please jump online, give me a review, 5-star. So basically other people can find the show. Once again, share it with your colleagues and do come and say hi in the Facebook group. And I'll put the downloadable cheat sheet in the Facebook group as I've been doing each week where it's relevant. So until next time, keep teaching, keep experimenting with AI, and keep giving your students the tools to find their own voice.